Hello, welcome to the G.I. Joe New News Classified Reviews. My name is David T. Allen, or if you would like, Super Dave 817. If you would like to see more of this content, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button for future videos. Thank you and enjoy.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the G.I. Joe New News Classified Review. I am David T. Allen, or if you like, Super Dave. We are here to talk about 156 in the classified line, and that is Footloose. A very interesting new character in the classified line. Not one of my favorite characters growing up as a kid, but I know a lot of people do like the character, and I do know that people were looking forward to this character in the line. So I'm glad that the people that do want it got it. We're going to go into a little bit of the history of the character and delve deep into where he came from. So I want to say hello to everybody in the chat this morning. Thank you for joining me, and we're going to get right into this. So Footloose. First, we're going to go into Dan Klingsmith's series of books, and that is volume number 11, Creating G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero by Dan Klingsmith Jr. And there is a lot of ideations for this character and a lot of discussion as to what he should be, what his specialty should be, and a lot of other information on this character, because he was kind of like the next version of Grunt. He was like an infantryman, and he was just the boots on the ground type soldier. He was a little bit different in Sunbow, but we'll get into all that in a little while. So let's read this first, what Dan had to say. Alternate names: Young Blood, Hometown, New Breed, Cool Breeze, or Heartland. Some very interesting names. I don't think we got any of those names for any other character, if I'm remembering correctly. Year release 1985, designed by Ron Rudat. Again, Ron did all the figures from 82 to 87, pretty much most of them, with the exception of a handful and some vehicle drivers. Mark Pennington took over in 87 and did a bunch of stuff as well. So then let's see what Dan has to say about Footloose's character. Ron shared that he designed Footloose to be a basic grunt type of character. Covering him in camouflage, Ron gave him basic gear that was used during Vietnam: an Alice pack, M16 rifle, and a light anti-tank law weapon. So that gives you a little bit of insight into what they were trying to do. But there's lots of ideations over there on that page. I don't know if you can see them all, different colorizations and stuff like that, turnarounds, and some of his accessories. So that is Footloose. Then we'll go into his package. The funny thing is, getting the figure and looking at this package, it never struck me that that was the same character, because they don't really look the same. The package doesn't look like him, and I don't think the figure looks like the package. So it was a little weird that they did that design on there. It does resemble the artwork in the book, but it's so diverse and so different. It's weird to me. Let's see. So that was Footloose's package. So Footloose got his first appearance in the same issue as my Crimson Twins, and Flint, for that matter, and Bongo the Balloon Bear. And it's a major story for Ripcord as well, this issue. Issue 137, no, 37 from the Real American Hero Marvel comic series by Larry Hama in the 80s. So that's where he gets his first appearance. And then he appears predominantly in Sunbow in the first season, which is starts with the Pyramids of Darkness, but then he shows up in a lot of the episodes in there, and he's got more like a surfer, like dude type attitude and characterization, the way that he was portrayed in Sunbow, which really wasn't what I thought the characters should be. But you never know. Everybody has different styles and stuff like that. So I guess it went to just differentiate him from a lot of the other characters at the time on Sunbow. They made him like a kind of a dude surfer type guy, and it just never struck me. He was in the credit sequence and stuff like that as well. Here he is. I got to put a new O-ring on him, but he has his O-ring in there. Oh boy, I'm tired today. I don't know why. So I'm gonna probably gonna do this today because you guys wanted me to do an O-ring on screen. So I'm gonna do an O-ring today on screen to showcase you how you do that. So that's gonna be part of this video because he needs a new O-ring. And I have my little kit with all my tools and everything, and I have an O-ring right there. So we're going to do an O-ring for him today as we go through this at the end. So let's see. He needs a new O-ring. And then we have his backpack. That looks like a weapons backpack because it's beige. And then we have his mortar shell gun there. And we have his helmet, which is a cool helmet, a new type of helmet for infantrymen because it has camouflage and stuff all over it. Looks pretty good. Let's see. There. Let's see. So we need to get out my screwdriver. I think it's this one. So there's a little bitty screw in the back there. So you get one of these little teeny screwdrivers, and then you go in there and you loosen it. You try to get the screw off. All right, I think I got it. So, maybe not. It's not quite off yet. Oh, there it is. I got it. So then the little screw falls out from the back. There, a little screw there. Always put the screws so I don't lose them in here so I can get it. Hey, Terrence Childs, good morning. Thanks for joining us. We're doing classified Footloose 156, and I'm doing an O-ring replacement because a lot of the guys in the chat yesterday or the day before wanted me to replace an O-ring in a figure and show them how to do that. So I'm doing that right now. So we're doing Footloose. We're doing the O-ring Footloose. We're replacing his O-ring. So, all right. So we got everything out of there. So you take got the screw out. Then I always throw the old O-rings in there. So we have the O-ring. There's the O-ring there. So you have to hook it onto a little bitty hook there between the legs. So you just hook that on there, like that. And then this is the toughest part I always have, is trying to squeeze it in between these the crotch part. So you have the crotch part, and you have to kind of squeeze it through that into there and get it up in there. So we're going to do that. Try to get that in there. Sometimes I use the screwdriver to try to lift the O-ring through like this. There, like that. It kind of helps me maneuver the crotch and everything. There, make sure I have that in there. It seems to be a little stuck, so I've got to remove that. Came off. So it's not as simple as you think. So let's try this one more time. Put it on the hook, put the crotch in there. Uh, it's not as easy as it looks. All right, I think I got it finally. Yep, I do. All right, so I got it through. So you have to get it to go through the crotch so it comes out like that. And then you take the back. I always use the back first, the one that has the hole for the bolt, and you kind of set it inside the O-ring like that. See, like that? And then you start putting on all the parts on the outside. Make sure that the O-ring's on snug there. And then I put the chest on and I slowly add all the other parts there. So I added the chest on, and then I just slowly open it slightly just to put one arm and then another arm and then a head in there. So there's one arm and there's the other arm. So we just do it slowly. You just kind of crack it open a little bit, and you add them one by one so that they don't fall off. So now I got two arms, and then we do the head. There you go. And now we have all the parts back on there. It's pretty tight. So then you get the little screw that we took out at the beginning. Put the screw back in there. Then you get your screwdriver again and you do it in reverse and you tighten that screw back up. You try to get it as snug as you can in there. And hopefully everything works the way it's supposed to. So all the parts are on, everybody's tight, and you have a new O-ring Footloose put together. Hey, good morning, Strictly Cobra. Thanks for joining us. We're just doing the replacement of an O-ring for a O-ring figure. A lot of the guys in the last couple videos wanted me to showcase how to put an O-ring in, so I did it for them. And now I did this O-ring for Footloose. Now I'm going to put his helmet on, put his backpack on, and then I'm going to give him his gun. There you go. Footloose with his mortar and his helmet and his backpack. Vintage. All right, so I'm going to put all this stuff away. There. So if you want to know what O-rings I use, I usually get them from the hardware store, Lowe's, and I go with I think it's 5/11 O-ring. That's the size that I go with. I believe it's 5/11. And they come in like packages of like 20 or whatever, or 30. at Lowe's and Home Depot. That's usually what I go with, and I've never had any problem. I've been replacing a lot of my O-rings as I've been going along with these videos. Every time I get a figure that's a little loose, I just, after the video, I replace the O-ring and fix it. Um, I've done it with like 20 figures, and it's not that difficult. Um, Opened my scrap iron yesterday. Got the old lady to print some Cobra stands. He is actually a great figure. Oh yeah, scrap iron's a fantastic figure with that drone that he comes with, all the missile effects and blast effects, and then his helmet comes off. So that's another one of those things. Is like, why can scrap iron's helmet come off? Why can Wild Bill's helmet come off? Why can Sci-Fi's helmet? Why do all these people have helmets that are removable? The Frack Viper, the Saw Viper, but Copperhead, no. Barbecue, no. Blowtorch helmet came off. I don't get it. In certain cases, I understand. It's weird, but generic Vipers and stuff, you don't need their helmets to come off. But characters that are real people, and he had his helmet off a lot in the cartoon too. Not only in Sunbow, but Deke as well. He had his helmet off. So I don't know. It's weird about the helmets. But yeah, Scrap Iron is a really cool figure. He has all kinds of gear. I'm surprised he went to a lot of clearance. So you can get him pretty easily at places like Ollie's and Ross and different sales on Amazon and Big Bad Toy Entertainment, because he was one of those characters. Even in Walmart, they had a bunch of him hanging around. So he was an easy character to get. I guess people didn't realize how cool he was. Bless me. I never thought of that, but it is hit or miss on removable helmets. Yeah, it is. It's weird. All right. So let's go into Footloose. So he's 156 in the classified line, and we have done now 156 figures in the classified line, all the ways from 00 all the way up to 156, and we're getting ready to do our 22nd vintage package and the next legacy and 60th anniversary character coming up very soon. We've done 4 of those and 21 of them so far. He's got that peace symbol. So they incorporated that element from the Sunbow, where he's a peace loving cool type character, a surfer dude type character, into the artwork, which is all right, I guess, to give a little characterization. Then we have the target artwork, the QR code, and the designations. We're going to go into the designations in just a moment. I'm going to see what everybody's saying in the chat. Let's see. Hello, everybody. Hey, Paul Morales. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Everybody's saying hello to everybody in the chat. All right, designations. So he's got the, which I believe is foot soldier. Yep. He's got a missile, which I think is ordnance, if I'm not mistaken, launcher. And then he's got fist, which is hand-to-hand combat. And then he has jungle, which is jungle combat. So those are the designations for Footloose. Oh yeah, I wanted to get a stand out. I forgot to get a stand. Let's see. That's his stand for later. And then we have the photography artwork by Shooting the Galaxy, Matt and Mike. And it looks really nice. He looks really cool there. He's got his mortar, his gun, his helmet. And it looks like Dusty is back there with a Mobat. No, that's a Mauler that's back there. And a couple of call-outs in the package right there. That's Dusty and the Mauler back there. And then there's an overturned tank back there. But he's definitely in the desert. So I don't know. Do you guys consider Footloose a desert trooper? Or do you consider him all different terrains? Jungle, desert, whatever. Because that's weird. They stuck him in the desert in this photography. Maybe it's just the photography choice. I'm not sure. So there he is. Footloose with all of his gear, and it does not give a second name, so it's just Footloose, and then his loadout. So there you go. So we'll get into him and see what he has to offer. And like I was saying earlier, he wasn't one of my favorite characters. He was a character that kind of like evaded me, I guess. Maybe that's why I didn't fall in love with him that much as a toy. I didn't see him on the shelves that much, the stars and stripes on the interior of the package. Maybe that's why I never became a fan of his, but he is one of those odd characters to me. Dave, do you lean more towards Cobra or are you a real American hero? Um, I have a lot of Cobras that I like. If you saw my two videos, my top 10 Cobra video and my top 10 Joe video, I do like a lot of Joes. There are a lot of Joes that I really like. Spirit is my number one Joe. I love Ripcord. I love Snow Job. I love Blowtorch. Duke is one of my favorites. Scarlet, Snake Eyes. So I do love GI Joe. I like a lot of the GI Joes. It's just I think some of the Cobras are really cool, interesting characters. There's more layers to them. There's more interesting story elements, like the Crimson Twins being born on that island and having the identical mirror versions of themselves. Zartan having that cool element where he genetically did some manipulation and now he has that skin disorder. Firefly being this cool kind of ninja, kind of saboteur, kind of like character that's very gritty, outside the lines type of character that's involved in all different aspects of Cobra. Storm Shadow having that cool good and evil side to him, and he's kind of on the outs with Cobra, and he's trying to be friends with Snake Eyes and the Arashikage and stuff like those elements. And then Destro being a very, very like honorable type bad guy who's in charge of the Iron Grenadiers and Mars Industries as a weapons dealer and weapons arm dealer, stuff like that. There's so much more layers to the Cobras. Cesspool being a bit of abused as a child and working his way up from being a lumberjack and into that tree stuff, into corporate espionage and joining Cobra, and then having, because of his own faults and his own mistakes and his being cheap, he falls into a vat of a sludge due to the ineffectiveness of his building and his construction and stuff. So there's so many layers to these bad guys. It makes them so much more interesting. The good guys are cool, and it's cool to see where they're from and their backgrounds and stuff, but they're not as interesting to me as the Cobra characters. So I do love a lot of Joes, but I love a lot of Cobras as well. So hopefully that was a long answer, but hopefully it answers your question. Strictly Cobra. All right, back to Footloose. So he looks like a more camouflage foot soldier, the way he should be, kind of like Grunt, a little bit like Grunt, except he's more camouflage. He's got this secondary, he's got a bit of deco in those gas grenades there. Then he's got a secondary belt with some a ammo cartridge and some looks like some ordnance there that he could place strategically in places. And then he has this looks like a shamrock there, a four-leaf clover for luck, I guess, because of his foo-foo type nature. And then he has the American flag there, tempo. Now there was a big thing about his face printing where everybody thought he looked like Pedro Pascal. I don't really think he looks that much like Pedro Pascal. Looks like a kid that I knew when I was young, actually. But I can understand because of the mustache, the way he's designed, he might look like Pedro Pascal, but I don't know. I don't think he looks that much like Pedro Pascal. He's got a secondary in the belt on the back for a holster, and then he's got those weird patches of knee pads that are there and stuff like that. And then he's got the rolled up shirt sleeves with the edges on them with the different deco as well. They did stick with his camouflage pattern. The camouflage pattern on him is a little bit darker, and this one's a little lighter. The classified's a little lighter, and the vintage is a little darker, in my opinion. I love the fact that they gave him the shirt where it's like hanging down so you get to see his chest a little bit, and then he's got the rolled up arms. He's got this little watch with a little red tampo on it. Overall, he looks good and stuff. I know a lot of people liked him a lot. He just looks like a normal G.I. Joe figure to me. Nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary there with him. So let's get into some of his accessories. So he has this big backpack, similar to his vintage large backpack. It matches the secondaries that he has. His back, his chest secondary, and his waist secondary. So there you go. Then he has his mortar. There's his large mortar. We've seen this mortar many, many times. I like the fact that they added that little tiger face to it, which I don't know if they add that to characters that are not Tiger Force. Like Tripwire had that, but it was the Tiger Force Tripwire. So that's interesting that they did that. Then he has a missile, or a mortar, I should say, not a missile, to go into his mortar. And it's got some green deco and black deco on it. So that goes in there. Doop. There. That's the first time I think they've given the mortar with this. I'm not with a figure. I don't recall that being added before. Then we have his revolver. He's got a normal, looks like a 45 revolver. So we're going to put that in his back holster. I like the fact that they're putting the holsters now on the back of the belts. This is the second figure now that's had that. Darklon had that yesterday with that little Colt that he had. So there you go. And we're going to hold his mortar off for a minute. We have his helmet. Now, this is a different helmet from what we've seen before, because they camouflaged it all on the exterior, and they added that little GoPro camera there to it, and they have the harness and the neck piece with the radio on it as well. So I'm going to put that on his head. If we can get it on his head. There. All right, so we have that on him. A little bit of cool detail with the leaves and the jungle aspect to it, and there's a lot of like technical stuff all the ways around as well on the back and on all the sides to go along with that. Radio and GoPro, which I think is slightly new. He looks really cool with his helmet on. And then he has a little bitty knife to go in his sheath on his chest. He's got a little knife holster on his secondary there. You can barely tell that that's a knife holster there, but it is. It's right there. So we're going to put that into here. There. Okay. And then he has his M16, which we've seen this several different times. Different characters have it, which is the perfect weapon for Footloose. There. So I'm going to give him that. He also has a secondary little bandana on his right arm there. So we're gonna do this. So his articulation points are, he has the butterflied shoulders, he's got the double pinned elbows, the double pinned knees, he's got the foot rocker there, he's got the thigh and the calf articulation up there with that arm with the the pulled up sleeves. He's got the head rocker here. He's got the ab crunch underneath that secondary there. He's got the crotch and leg articulation. He's got the wrist articulation. He's got, let's see if he has a secondary. No, he doesn't. Yeah, he does have a secondary wrist ankle articulation down there at the bottom, very bottom. So he's got most of the articulation points that most of the figures have, except for, it looks like, the secondary wrist articulation. I think they're going to stop using the secondary wrist articulation because I haven't seen that in quite a long time on figures. Let's see, Strictly Cobra. Some of the detail in some of the smaller pieces, like that mortar around is amazing. Yeah, they do some really good detail work on a lot of this stuff. That helmet is on fire. Yeah. Standard A2. Yeah, for the M16. Yep. When I was in the Rangers, Cadet Rangers, we used that as our standard in the 80s when I was in the Rangers, and that was our main thing that we used. So he is on there. Now, let's see. We're going to just sling his mortar probably over his shoulder because that's what I did with the other one. Maybe we can do it like that. Like that. Then I'll move his arm up like this so then it won't fall off. Then he has all of his gear on him. I wonder if there's a better way to do that. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to put it around his head. So I'm going to try this. Hopefully nothing falls off. Let's see. I'm going to fiddle around with this to get this to go correct. I'm going to see if I can get it to go over the arm and then over the head. And then it'll stay on there without falling off. So there's that. It's over that. And then and I think I got it. So turn his head back up there. Yeah. His arm like that. There. Now I have his mortar over his shoulder like that, kind of. It looks a little funky, but it's all right, I think. I just wanted it to stay on so it wouldn't slip off when I put them on my display. Because I love it when all the figures accessories go on there. And now I have all of his accessories in a pretty good pose there. He looks like he's walking right through Vietnam there. Let's see. So there you go. There's your Footloose. Looks pretty good. There's a lot of interesting detail. The camouflage, they gave him 3 or 4 different types of color on the camouflage, whereas the vintage one was just brown on him. So they definitely did some more deco on this one, the classified one. The helmet is really cool with all the detail, like I said before, the leaves and everything that's in there. They sculpted all that stuff individually to give it that real life effect, as if he had that netting with the leaves and everything in it. If you really look to it, there's a lot of really cool stuff on that. And the camouflage, which is not all the time that you see, is they have the camouflage going all the ways up through his shirt and his the if you see the back of the sleeves there, it's on the back there. So they really did the camouflage all the ways around before they stuck the secondary on there. And it looks really good. I think he looks really good. I Another interesting detail is this green that goes all the ways down to his boots. So he's like holding his fatigues, you know. Sometimes you have that where they have the fatigues, they go underneath the boots, which I thought that was more of a World War I type of thing. But I found it interesting that they have that on him. That's a detail that I don't think I've ever seen before. Um, but he looks really good. He looks all put together like this. He looks really nice. I must say, looks perfect. I would like them to do another version of Grunt and make him really look like this, except more like army drab colors. The Grunt, I think they went a little too classified with Grunt. They need to pare him down, do another version, and make him kind of look like this a little bit, and give him more army drab, not camouflage. And then we can get another Grunt, a vintage Grunt. But he looks really nice. Footloose does. What do you guys think? You guys like this figure? Do you think they did a good job balancing the classifying up portion and keeping it close enough to what he looked like as a vintage character? Or do you think one way or the other they should have went less or should have went more, depending upon what it is? This is going to be probably a very fairly short video. Yeah, he looks good. World War II leggings. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Strictly Cobra. Um, I was thinking that myself. Yeah, he looks good. Strictly Cobra. Bill Lenoir. Bill Lenoir. I got Footloose as the gunner in my Striker. Yeah, I think he's on a lot of the packaging for the Striker, the vintage Striker with crankcase. So that's a good spot to have him. I think he looks kind of cool in the Striker there. I like him. He's actually, I like this figure better than I did the vintage one, which is weird. Because like I said, I didn't have that much connection to the vintage one because I really never found it at retail when I was a child. And it is a weird figure for me, and I never saw the fervor for it the way a lot of other people have in the fan base and in the collecting community. They really like this character, but this figure looks really nice, I've got to say. I think they did a really good job with it overall. It really has a nice aesthetic to it, and it really stands out when you look at it and stuff like that. He really does hold up as a cool figure, I've got to say. A lot more surprising than I was anticipating when I got him. I didn't expect much from him, but he definitely holds up a lot better. So I'm glad that you guys like him too. So he's a little bit of a surprise for me. But that's the fun thing about doing these videos, is I never know what's going to happen. Yeah, I have an idea on certain things when I get to certain characters like Blowtorch. I had an idea where I was going to go with it, but Footloose is a little bit of a surprise. When I did Mainframe, that was a little, or Dial Tone, that was a little bit of a surprise. Several other characters were as well. Darklon, the Frag Viper were all surprises as well. Let's see his legs up close. All right. He's got those, like that patch of clothing or cloth that's going over his knees from here to here. And I think there's somebody coming up that has that. I'm trying to remember what character that has that. coming up has a similar design aesthetic for their legs. Um, the background of the legs aren't, they don't look like that. They look normal. They look like a normal leg there, right? It's just those patches that are extended on his knees that gives him that extra cloth right there. I don't know. It's a little odd, but I would say that's the only bad thing about this figure. It's a pretty good figure, I would say, with all the detail, with the Tiger Force jaws on his mortar and everything, and the watches and all that stuff, and all those little details and the layers and stuff, and the helmet. I think that's a pretty good figure overall. Uh, so let's see. We got a animal and figure companion set coming up next. A new character, a new animal, and it's probably one of my favorite animal and pet companions that's coming up next. And it's a Joe, so you probably figure out what that one is next. And then we have a couple of exclusives coming up after that. And then we have like I said, we have another Legacy 60th anniversary and another vintage retro package. And then we have something totally awesome after that. So that gives you an idea of all the next 5 or 6 videos that are coming up in the channel over the next week or so. So if you guys want to check those out, you can. I also wanted to mention my convention, the Scentflow Joe Show in Central Florida, in Deltona, at the center at Deltona. Our primary guest is Mark Pennington, designer, comic book artist, and all-around cool guy. You can come see him, get some sketches, talk to him about G.I. Joe. He designed G.I. Joe from 87 to 89. He worked on at CrossGen Comics doing The Path, and he's done a lot of other stuff over the years, design work and so on and so forth. We also are going to have Adam Riches, comic book artist and package designer for Hasbro and Super 7. It's going to be there. Matt LaCroix, toy designer, and he has a company, and I always Strike Force Alpha. His company is Strike Force Alpha, and his line of toys that he does. He also did the Fumbles figure last year for Seth Green at Joe Fest 2025, and he does a lot of beautiful paint jobs, and he's working on a lot of projects, and he's going to have an exclusive figure that he's going to be selling at my show. I cannot say who that is quite yet, but I will when we get all the details all worked out and everything's lined up. I will let you know who that exclusive figure will be at our show in Florida. And it's a really cool character. It's a character that would really look cool with your G.I. Joe O-rings, if you ask me. Then we have Rising Sun Comics with Hawk Saunders is going to be there. After Action Report with Roger Taft, author, is going to be there. We're going to have tons of vintage toys, vintage comics, all kinds of vintage merchandise for you guys to buy. It's a wonderful, it's going to be a wonderful event to just hang out and just talk about G.I. Joe and find all kinds of things that are missing in your collections. So I hope you can make it. If you're in the South Georgia, South Alabama area or Florida, please try to attend. It's April 19th, again in Deltona, Florida, at the center at Deltona. And then there's also Kentuckiana that's going on right now. My friend Terry Ruin and Dan Thompson are there, and we're going to go live from the Kentuckiana Joe show later this afternoon. So stay tuned to that, and it's Toy Talk Live. It'll be at 2 p.m. So I hope you guys can all join us for that as well. And then there's also Joe Fest. That's coming up in June, the 26th through the 28th. And we've gotten all kinds of new vendors that we've added, lots of guests, Lisa Raggio, Dan Gelvizin, Sergeant Slaughter, Larry Hama, Charles Michael Hill, Larry Houston, Both of them are producer and animation writers for respectively G.I. Joe, and X-Men the animated series. And we're probably going to be getting another producer writer for another animated series. We have not announced this person yet, but it's somebody that I helped try to get to the show. So we're going to be covering all kinds of toy lines in the GI Joe the Joe Fest 2026. We're trying to broaden out the horizon and make it more toys and more brands that we get different people that have worked on it over the years. And we have a new comic book um, artist that we've added. Rod Wiggum is going to be there from the Vintage G.I. Joe comic book artist, Rod Wiggum. So Larry and Rod are both going to be there. But we got a lot more guests announced that are coming up. I wish I could go. Ever come to Knoxville, Tennessee? Well, Tennessee's not that far from the Kentuckiana show, because it's like South Kentucky. And there are other shows in Tennessee as well. They do that show that Ron Rudat goes to all the time. It's more of a Star Wars show, but they do have a G.I. Joe presence. The Knoxville show, I can't remember the name of it, but they do some shows in Tennessee, Strictly Cobra. But all these shows are not that far away. They're maybe less than a day away. Maybe some of them are 6-8 hours. That's not that far to go to, like Joe Fest or Kentuckiana, or even some of the ones in Alabama. But you know, try to get a buddy that you can carpool with or something, and try to team up and tag team. I did that when I was young, and I got to go to a lot of shows all over the United States when I was younger, and I enjoyed that. It was fun. Yeah, we had difficulties, car troubles and stuff, but it was always fun trying to drive to these shows with my friends, 3 and 4 friends, and we would share rooms and this and that, and share hang out and everything afterwards, and talk different toys and comics and stuff with our other friends that were at the shows. It was really cool. It was like my kind of a going out and sowing my oats, going off and doing all this stuff, because I did it with lots of different friends. Instead of traveling Europe and backpacking, I went and did carpooling and room sharing for GI Joe and toy conventions and comic conventions when I was a teenager and young adult. That's what I did. To go around the country. I went to Charlotte, I went to Atlanta, I went to New Orleans, I went up to New England, I went all over Florida, Pensacola, Miami, Tampa. So I did a lot of these type of adventures. I went to Key West. So it was a fun thing. I just got a bunch of my friends that were local, and we just said, yeah, we want to do this, let's go. And we met a lot of celebrities and stuff like that, and artists and writers. It was where you could get things a lot cheaper back in the day, in the 90s, in the early 2000s. You can get sketches from big name artists like George Perez and Bob Layton, John Romita Jr., Beatty, John Byrne. Well, no, John Byrne never did sketches, but we got a lot of sketches and art from a lot of comic book artists, and we got to talk to a lot of comic book writers and meet a lot of people that you don't meet today. It's because they charge to meet them, like Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld, Silvestri, Eric Larson, Mike Grell, a lot of these guys, Walt Simonson, Frank Miller, all these people back in those days, they didn't charge for autographs. They didn't charge for sketches. And you can get all that stuff for free. And I did. And then I met a lot of celebrities and stuff like that, where it was a lot cheaper to get autographs of celebrities. They were like $5, $15, $25 was the most you could get for an autograph. And it was like a major person like William Shatner or somebody like that, or DeForest Kelley or somebody like that. And a lot of those people are are not with us anymore. The Doctor from Lost in Space and a lot of those guys are not with us. And so I was able to get a lot of autographs and stuff like that. It really was a fun time back in those days. Other than car troubles, it was a fun time. Me and my friends all had an enjoyable time. So if you guys are able to go to Joe Fest or the Senflow Joe Show or Kentuckiana or whatever other show that's local, I recommend you do it for that whole reason, to hang out with friends and that camaraderie and that helping each other out. Sometimes you burn through your budget and your buddy has to help you or whatever, or you have to help your buddy buy something that's really cool that they really want and stuff like that. Let's see. When will the new HasLab drop? A new HasLab probably is going to be in June, most likely, and we're not sure what that is right now. There was a fairly concerted thought process on the HasLab. We thought, because it's the Cobra year, we're going to get the Mare, but now there's a lot of people saying they think we're getting the Thunder Machine as a HasLab. I think that's a mistake to do the Thunder Machine, because Lenny did say he felt the Thunder Machine was too small for HasLab. And somebody was showing it off the other day in comparison to his tank and the Snowcat, and the Thunder Machine was very much in the same size. Like, ooh, that doesn't bode well for the Thunder Machine as a MTR order, a pre-order situation, because it looks so much bigger in that view. I'm show that myself, because it is quite big and it does equal the Snowcat and the His Tank. And I think it's just because the proportions in the O-ring were not exact to the figures and stuff like that, because people did. I saw an example of the Snowcat where they showed what a HasLab one looks like and what a regular one, and the proportions are not that big. And I know that they scaled it down as a toy in the 80s, so it's not accurate there. So maybe the Thunder Machine might not be accurate because the proportions are off, but I still think it would be better in the $100 range and have it come with Thrasher. But if they end up doing it as an MTR type project, I think it needs to be more interchangeable, and there should be more Mad Maxian parts that you can mix and match and do different versions of it. And then it should come with that other character, that other second driver that's on the box that kind of looks like Monkey Wrench, but it's not Monkey Wrench. It's a different guy. And put two figures with it. If they do it as an MTR, make it 150 in that range. But I definitely don't think it should be a HasLab. I think it's way too small to be a HasLab. I think I hope we get the Moray, and it's going to be big. The Moray is going to be big. We're getting the Night Raven. No, we're not getting the Night Raven, strictly Cobra. I would like a Night Raven, but there's only a certain way to do a Night Raven as a HasLab. It has to be maneuver. They have to break it in half and have it be in parts. If you're going to stick it in the box in order to put it together, it's got to be in multiple parts. So you're going to have that drone, you're going to have the front part where you have to attach it, and then the back part and stuff like that in order to put it into a box. Because if they try to do it as a box, all pretty much the fuselage all put together, the box is going to be way too big. In order to get a HasLab, you got to have it all in the box, and it's got to be a certain size for shipping purposes. So you got to look at all the HasLabs that have come before and the sizes. They're all pretty much the same size box. So that is part of the engineering of how are they going to put this together? What are they going to do to get into the box and all this stuff? But I do think we can get a Night Raven. I just don't think it's this year. I think we're going to wait a couple more years for the Night Raven. Maybe in, let's see, if Joe is 28, then maybe Night Raven will be 29, possibly, or the Demon might be 29, and you might have to go to 30 or 31 for the Night Raven. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think it would be kind of cool. Yeah, it's going to definitely be more expensive for the Night Raven because there's going to be a lot more plastic involved in that. New York Nights, 1974. Thank you for joining us again today. Morning, folks. I saw someone add parts to a Stinger and transformed it into a Thunder Machine. So it's completely within a realm of possibility. Oh, so they used a classified Stinger and they just changed it up and added some new 3D printed parts to make it into a Thunder Machine. That's exactly what I'm thinking. I think you could take parts of the Stinger and stuff and interchange it and make it multiple different versions of it with that Mad Maxing, because that's what the whole idea of the Thunder Machine back in the 80s was. It had a Corvette front, it had like this cab that was like with cages and all this armaments and a Gatling gun that obviously wasn't part of it, and these big wheels and stuff like that. It was multiple different things that was cobbled together to create that. And I think if you don't give us that type aesthetic where there's multiple parts and different attachments and different things you can put on it to make it kind of Mad Maxian variation. So you can buy 2 or 3 Thunder Machines and give the Dreadnoks each different versions to drive and make it like an armada of Thunder Machines with different Gatling guns and different machine guns and missile launchers and this and that, and make the fronts different and stuff like that. It's not going to give you that idea of what it really is, in my opinion. Because we're classified now. We're not O-ring, so it's going to be much better, much more out there and insane. That's what I'm looking for the Thunder Machine to be more insane and really give some paint apps of like a spray painted decos all over it with different saying Dreadnoks rule and anarchy and all this stuff all painted all over it. I think that's what we need. Wait, a Night Raven, but no whale. Poppycock. No, it's just because of the way that you could put a raven in a box. A whale, you would need 2 boxes. You would need 2 of those big boxes. It would come in 2 parts, kind of like the Thundercat lair came in 2 parts, kind of like different Masters of the Universe things came in 2 parts. That's my theory on that. But who knows? I'm just speculating here. Kind of having a conversation about it, New York Nights. But definitely the whale is huge, absolutely huge. But I think the Raven could be done. It just got to be broken into parts and stuff like that. And if you looked at how we did the Dragonfly, it was 3 tiers of parts. So you would do like 2 tiers with all the parts and bags, and then 1 tier with the figures on the bottom. But you could fit it all in there, I think. That's just my 2 cents on the theory. The whale, you would need 2 boxes. There's no doubt about it. Either that or it's going to be a much bigger box. You're just stirring up the pot, guys. That's fine. That's okay, Strictly Cobra. But I want all of it. Yeah, it's going to be very expensive. The whale, if we get it, it'll be between $450 and $500. So make sure you put that money aside, save it up, so you can get it. At least you can get one, because there's no way people are buying multiples of whales. I won't be able to. That's for sure. And I buy 2 of everything, and I've been buying 2 of the HasLabs so far, but it is not cheap. It is not cheap. You think we'll get both? Well, I hope so. I've talked about this many, many times. So if we get the Mare next year, what do you guys think would be the Joe vehicle? Do you think it could be the Havoc or a Mobat or a Mauler, a tank HasLab? Or do you think it could be the Battle Tactical Platform? Or do you think it could be the Sky Striker? Those are your probably 4 Joe vehicles that I'm thinking that would be the next 4 Joe vehicles. Sky Striker, Havoc, some sort of a tank, HasLab with a Mobat, a Mauler, interchangeable modular ability, or the tactical battle platform for Joe. Those are your 4 Joe items. One's water, one's obviously air, one's a land tank type thing, and then one is another land, futuristic land type vehicle. So there's land, air, and sea for Joe. So Cobra, I'm thinking if we're gonna get HasLabs, the next few are probably gonna be the Moray, the Demon, the Mamba, possibly a Bug. What was the Slaughter's Marauders with missiles and the AA guns? Uh, was it the Lynx? No, it wasn't the Lynx. I can never remember the name of that. It's one of my favorite vehicles. I love the turret and everything. The deco of it looks really cool. What is the name of that? It's not the Phalanx. That was the ramen one. What is the name of that? Lynx? Intruder? I don't know. Something. It was a big tank. Yeah, I know what it is. I know what you're talking about. I can remember. I can never remember the name of that. Let me see. Hold on. See if I can find it for you guys. Hold on, just a second. I might be able to find it pretty easily. Let's see. I think. Let's see. That's the good thing about having all these books. I can just pull one out and look at it and see. Oh, here it is. The Equalizer. Equalizer. Slaughter's Marauders. Nope, not the Warthog. The Warthog's a good one, but not quite. The Equalizer is the Slaughter's Marauders tank. The Warthog was a separate tank. It came with a beige Sergeant Slaughter. I think we're gonna probably get the Triple T Sergeant Slaughter's tank. Oh yeah, you had that as a youth. Yeah, it's awesome. See, but that's where I think we would need, if they're going to do a tank, we need to have a uniform body for a HasLab, right? And we need to have multiple turrets. Like the HISS tank, where they had all the unlocks, where there are all these different weapon systems that could go on the HISS tank. I think the same thing should be for the Mauler, and we should have different turrets and weapon systems that you could unlock. Have 4 tiers and have a different turret. Do the Equalizer turret, do the Bridge Layer turret, do the Wolverine turret, do the whatever the Mobat or the Mauler turret, which was very similar, just a normal turret. There you go. 4 different awesome turrets, right? And then for each one of those turrets, include like armor that goes around it, like they did with the Mauler, where they had that armor that you could attach. Have it be different camouflage. So have the khaki camouflage, one the green navy green marine deco, one the camouflage for the Equalizer. So you have 3 different decos, so you can make it look 3 different colors. So you can make it look like the Mauler, you can make it look like the Equalizer, or you can make it look green for the Wolverine or the Bridge Layer. And each one of those things will have an attachment on the bottom that will make it movable or liftable or whatever, and then it attaches to the same thing on the tank. They have 2 seats where they have the little things that open up. You can put the characters in there and everything, and you have stickers for each one of those different tanks that you would use. That's how I would do a tank HasLab. I think it would be a little expensive, and you need to have like 3 or 4 pilots. You could get toll booth. You could get a vintage Steeler, maybe a the guy that drives the Mauler, I can't remember his name. Equalizer, even the name is badass. Oh yeah, it is. Strictly Cobra. Who's the Mauler driver? I can't think of his name. Because we already have a Steeler, we already have a Cover Girl, so we need a toll booth. Maybe even give it a slugger, a slugger uh, um, turret as well, and that can come with thunder, heavy metal. So you could get all kinds of tank drivers with this. You can get heavy metal, toll booth, thunder, maybe a vintage version of Steeler. And you don't necessarily need any of the Sergeant Slaughter Marauders to go with it, because you can just put them in there. We've got a bunch of them already. Morning, Super Dave. Hey, Lone Dragon, good morning. Thanks for joining us again. We're talking HasLabs again. We got off on the HasLab conversation again. So which 4 figures do you think would make sense for a HasLab tank uh, um, um, project? So I think Cutter, Thunder, Heavy Metal. Would you get both Heavy Metal and the other guy, the redeco with the 4 o'clock shadow? I can't remember his name either, but he came as a mail order figure. He's a hard figure to find. We could do four figures, or would they do 3 figures and just do all those turrets? Everybody's saying hi to everybody in the chat. So heavy metal, I think definitely, if you're going to do a Mauler Mobat type turret, bridge layer needs to have toll booth. The slugger definitely needs to have thunder. So those 3 brand new characters that we've never got, would we get all those characters? Would they do another redeco of somebody else, like Steeler or the heavy metal character that's slightly different? I couldn't rock the blue figures. You couldn't rock the blue figures? What do you mean? Who's the blue figures? Cobra Troopers? I'm not sure who you're talking about. Strictly Cobra. So what do you guys think? Do you think that's a good way to do a tank HasLab with all those turrets like his tank, and have it come with 3 or 4 different drivers? Bill Noir. Yo, David, did you have a ton of Joes as a kid? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I have a lot. The Marauders. Oh, you can't rock those blue, the Marauders deco. I like the deco. I think they did a really good job with that deco in Classified. The vintage ones, they look a little bit weird, but the Classified looks really nice. I've got to say that deco on them looks really, really cool. Yeah, I had lots of figures when I was growing up, Bill Noir. I started in 83, January around 83, for Christmas, and for my birthday, I got Destro, I got the Fang, and I got the Cobra Trooper. They were my first 3 items that I got for G.I. Joe. And then I started getting figures in 83. I got Snow Job, I got Gung Ho, Torpedo, I got the Dragonfly with Wild Bill, I got, what else did I get? Obviously, I got Cobra Commander, I got Major Blood, and then in 84, I went crazy with G.I. Joe, and I was getting all the G.I. Joes, like all the Joes, Spirit, Blowtorch, Roadblock, Recondo, Ripcord. I wanted all of them. All the Cobras were awesome. Obviously, Zartan, Firefly, Storm Shadow, Scrap Iron. I got the Shark. I got the Water Moccasin. It took me a long time to get the Whale. I didn't have it early on. I got it, I think, later. The Rattler I got at a flea market. Someone sold their Rattler at a flea market. I got it. 85, I went really heavy into it with the Crimson Guard twins and the Crimson Guard, and a lot of those characters from that as well. Everybody's saying hello to everybody in the chat. I never had any Joes as a kid, but my uncle got me the train set, but I wanted the figures. Yeah, the train set is really cool. I only got the train set probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I just got the trucking set this year for Christmas. So I'm still getting stuff that I didn't have back in the day. I'm still trying to acquire certain things. I've only got two more vintage items from 82 to 94 to get, and that is two more Night Force vehicles. They go for a lot of money. I'm almost complete. Once I get those two, I'll have everything from 82 to 94. But if someone can get me some cheaper versions of the Moray Night Force and the Sky Striker Boomer, I would appreciate that. I would buy them at a decent price, maybe a couple $100 each, but not $1,000. It's too much. Everybody's saying hi to everybody in the chat. So then I've been getting little stuff from like the late 90s, A Real American Hero, early 2000s that slipped through the cracks. And then some of the movie stuff I'm getting a little bit of that from Renegades and Revenge of Cobra and stuff I'm getting. So that's where I'm getting a little bit here and there. And sometimes I get oddball stuff like puzzles and books and stuff. Speaking of, I got two new Baroness novels. So now I have four Baroness novels. Yesterday, I got a new one. Good morning, Lady Virgo. Cool. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us. You found the walkie talkies in 1986 yesterday for 20 Canadian. I think it's a steal. Definitely. I got some, like I said, I got two of the Baroness novels from the late 60s, early 70s by Hector Guido. They're awesome. Now I have four of the novels. I've got four more to go. Everybody's saying hi to everybody in the chat. So I'm still getting things here and there, but there are a lot of weird stuff that most people don't get. But I want them because I have a pretty extensive G.I. Joe collection. One of these days we'll do some more tours and we'll go into some more stuff and everything, because I have a lot of ideas for doing episodes. I want to do the unproduced stuff from the 90s, and I want to do stuff that was way off, like a video on things that we never got. They were just concepts. I would like to do those two videos. I'd like to go in and show some more modern stuff in my collection and talk to you guys more about different things that were in the history of G.I. Joe as well. So I'd like to do some more fun videos like that. You asked about the HasLab coming with 3 and 4 figures. Did not read my answer. Oh, let me go back up, Lone Dragon. We'll see. I might have missed it. Oh, there it is. I guess I'm okay with 4 figures, but only if they don't skimp on the patches again. The Rattler has spoiled us, and we must have patches. You know, that's one of those things, Lone Dragon, that I think if they made the HasLab pre-order scenario shipping situation better and made it into maybe a club instead of just getting the membership, the classified membership through the HasLab Pulse membership. If they made it into a club and they made it a little bit more expensive, you could get like patches, you could get posters, you could get maybe different other things, kind of like they did in the 80s where you had a mail order type thing, and you could do that with Pulse and do a mail order type of a club through them, and you could get patches, you could get different things, and then they could work on the website that way, and then we could get more information about the tampos and the different factions and tattoos and things like that, information, bios, and file card information on the website. I think that's what a club could pay for, and then you could get your patches and stuff like that. Maybe get posters and maybe get stickers and things like that. I think it's something that Hasbro should bring back. They should bring that mail order a club back that they did in the 90s, in the 80s, and the early 2000s. In fact, they've done it 3 times. If they made it into a club, they would use the club to smack us over the head and just take our money. Well, yeah, that's what you would want to do, because we really need a website. These QR codes are ridiculous that they have a QR code on here and they don't go anywhere. They don't do anything. We need those file cards. We need some sort of explanation as far as those tampos and those tattoos and all that stuff that the figures come with. It's just there's no explanation anywhere. So I really would do that if I was Hasbro, but I'm not, and they're going to do whatever they want to do. Who knows what we might get now that they are getting of the Chris Cox. Oh yeah, you think they're going to get rid of him? Why? Just because there's a lawsuit doesn't mean he's getting demoted. Corporations have lawsuits all the time. People get sued all the time. That doesn't mean that they're going to get removed from their job. It's just the burden of proof that they have to prove that they didn't do something. When you sue somebody, you have to prove that that lawsuit is false. So they're forcing Hasbro's hand and making them go do that instead of them just going around doing their normal business. Now they have to prove that they didn't do that action with him. He's just one of the plaintiffs in that lawsuit that's named. But that doesn't mean he's going to lose his job. If they lose the lawsuit, if they prove that Hasbro did this and that he is at fault, maybe then he would lose his job. But right now, no, there's no evidence that he's going to lose his job. So hold off on that for now until the lawsuit's over. Okay, Lone Dragon. My partner is an attorney, so I know a lot about this sort of stuff, and I hear a lot of stuff, and I ask him questions about certain things and stuff like that. So he explains things to me sometimes in the law field. So I have a fairly good idea. All right. So I think that is going to do it for us today. I know a lot of you guys just joined us in the chat. You can go back and watch it on the replay crew. We talked about Footloose. We also put together an O-ring. You guys missed me putting together an O-ring figure, putting the O-ring inside the figure, taking it apart, and put it back together. We did that with the vintage Footloose for you guys because you asked yesterday or the day before for me to do that. So I did that. We talked about a bunch of conventions and a lot of fun stuff going on. So thank you all in the chat. Thank you all for always asking questions and getting involved and being part of the conversation. I really, really appreciate it. It makes this channel a wonderful community place for everybody to come to and have a nice time. I love all you guys, and you're part of my family, and I would not have it otherwise. I love everybody after the fact watching on the replay crew. This video went a little longer than I anticipated. I was only trying to go about an hour, but we're a little bit longer than that now. So it's fine. So this is a big G.I. Joe video. So we're going to go with Yo Joe. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll talk to you later.